Welcome to Aurora's podcast, where we talk about children's books and adult discussions, as well as other media that affects our children. Here we discuss the life lessons we can grasp from these things and the content that can be used to develop and enhance our worldview. At the end of the day, it's about sharing perspectives, educating and helping each other so that we can affect how we relate these messages to our children. Smash that like button, share, and subscribe.
Destiny the whole time.
Yeah, man. I'm like, I cut all the read aloud part out, so I can't get the comments.
I'm trying not to say that. I'm just like,
So the whole time.
Okay. Okay, we're gonna start with Destiny. What did you think about the book?
crap. I get it was trying to teach kids to, sharing is caring and not to focus on so much of the materialistic things, but the fact that they had that fish give away all his prized possessions just to make everybody else feel nice. What kind of crap is that?
And they all looking alike, like,
you know what I'm saying? Like, there's nothing wrong with not being materialistic, but I think you should teach children to, cherish certain things because it's a part of you. It makes you who you are. So you can't just give it freely to each and every person who comes in contact with you because you want some affection from them. No, you can't teach kids that. It sends the wrong message. And this can be portrayed when you're talking about sex, affection, conversation, which it can go in so many different directions. You know what I'm saying? Because it only take one person to abuse, what the individual gave them. And, that affects the person who gave it in a negative way. Now you sitting there looking stupid and sad, and you don't got your shit no more. You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't doing that crap. I can get giving it to somebody who is important or of value, someone whom you trust. You know what I'm saying? But just to be giving it to everybody, nah, nigga. That's dead. No. Mm-mm.
How did you feel about the book, Tommy?
Me, I feel like I should go last because I feel like I'd be saying a lot.
Okay, we'll come back, Gloria.
Okay, so the teacher and me had to look up what is the purpose of scales on a fish, right? I had to go look it up. Okay.
Oh, you got to take it that deep. Okay. Yes.
I had to. Because it really relates back to the bad messaging that Destiny was talking about. So the scales on a fish provide the fish with protection and mobility. Fish use their scales to move throughout the water, and it also protects them from things latching onto them, bacteria, parasites, other animals from latching onto them. So their scales are protection. So this book basically told children to give up all your protection. Give up all your mobility, all of your ability to move to other people. And notice that the fish did not give anything back in return. So the other fish did not make them. So the book is promoting vulnerability. I am going to make myself weak so that you feel better. I am going to injure my ability to move, and I'm going to give up my ability to protect myself from the outer elements. But you are not required to give me anything in return. Boo-boo the fool. That is really bad messaging.
Thank you.
Bad messaging. And not only that, I really thought, about a lot of different topics as I listened. I thought about capitalism. I thought about male-female interaction. I thought about the new abortion laws and how, that relates back to protection and mobility. I thought about so many things listening to this book, but the one thing that you cannot convince me of is that nobody in any relationship should be giving more than they get back. Period.
Snippity snap, snippity snap. Just to, there, y'all stab this book to death. I'll get into the other subjects on it after Sadai gives her take on the book. To me, of course, the main attraction for kids is glittery, it's bright, it's colorful.
Mhm.
And like Destiny said, trying to promote that sharing aspect, especially as a child, you're trying to help them socialize and understand that that's part of them maturing socially. They have to learn how to share, or they will be alone, which is kind of what it's saying here.
Mhm.
I do feel like the way they kind of portrayed it can be read in so many more negative ways than positive, because that should not be a reason why. It's different when you're talking about toys and you're sharing an activity and that object is part of the activity versus sharing a piece of yourself. And like Gloria had went into detail on what that specifically the scales meant. That's a bit different, because it's like if I had long beautiful hair, I'm not gonna chop my hair off and give you some because you say, "Oh, it's pretty, I want some." Like that's not a good message. Now I'm bald-headed. Well, how they call it, bald-headed whole stuff?
Running around here looking like a bald-headed rat now, and you got all the hair, looking stupid.
Right, and just like Gloria said, nothing was given in return, so they just took and gave nothing back. So as a child, you teaching them to just give without expecting anything back, which is really synonymous with a lot of religious and spiritual like doctrine and what they try to teach.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a whole other conversation. And I'm not sure if that's, the author with their, religious background is, and if that had anything to do with it. But I do feel like that's a part of it because, you know what, I'm kind of digging toward the subjects I wanted to discuss. So I'm going to cut there. Go ahead, Tada.
I agree with what everyone said. To try to add something different, I would say that it reminds me of this video I watched, and this was more on like a targeting Black people type of thing, where they were having, I think I just shared the video, but they were having a conversation. These old white men were having this conversation with these young Black women, and they were basically trying to get these Black women to sell off or participate in the study. And they were basically complimenting them like, yes, the key to life is the cells inside of these beautiful Black curvy women that we find in Africa, and just basically trying to make them feel like, good for something that they're really just trying to strip away for them and give them nothing for it. The man offered the lady $100 for this, and she looked at him like, "Are you crazy?" And he was like, "Okay, $500." And then it was like, she was like, "Are you crazy?" And then it was like, she was not giving into the conversation at all. Some of them were, because they were just hearing dollar signs, but it definitely reminds me of that. And it also, I feel like it takes, like, I think Shepard taught me this, and he's younger than me, but the lesson came through him. I was trying to teach him like how to be like a good person, I guess, while he's going to school dealing with bullying. And like, it was like sometimes the being too nice is just as selfish as not doing anything at all for somebody, because it all serves your pride. Like from the beginning, the rainbow fish was like, I'm not going to give these away because this makes me feel good to have all this to myself. And then starts to go under the feelings of, oh, I like the feeling of sharing, but really didn't care about these other fishes individually, just like the feeling that they got, the energy, the ego that they got from being able to share things. So it just basically tipped it. There was no balance. It just like one extreme to the other extreme. And I feel like life is definitely about balance. So yeah, you can share your gifts, but sometimes it's just about telling people what their gifts are and trying to bring out what God individually gave them, not sitting here just stripping what God gave you. Because I think that's in a way sin. If you feel like you have a purpose in here in life to do like whatever you have to do, I just think that's I don't know. I just feel like there's so many angles and I can't really focus on one. But I just feel like authors definitely have a way of trying to reach kids in these little story children's books. And they're not going to use like any other things to allude to like biblical. They're going to use something like pretty glittery fish. But if you really like just try to take the time to like break it down, I really feel like what they're teaching is nothing to help the individual's child self-esteem, but more to like benefit like society, trying to make a kid force its way to like work into society. Oh, she says she's here. But how to function in a society that basically just wants to take from you. And to find a good mental state about it when it shouldn't be too like a good thing. Like it's basically brainwashing, I feel like. I don't know. I just haven't been in a total position to where I could just give things to people. But I definitely feel like I've always been giving in a way where it's always like stripped me. I never knew how to like get it back. It was just something I was just always draining out of myself. And I feel like some of these examples given to me as a kid was definitely like making that happen. And not to just blame everything else, but definitely feel like there was not great intentions in this book, which I never think that I honestly feel like people who write books for children 9 times out of 10 do not have good intentions sometimes, especially these white authors, because children are the future. And if someone's sitting here and like taking that lesson straight to kids about, yeah, give him all your snacks, give him all your toys, like that's my stuff. Like I should be able to enjoy this, not sit here and be like watching you enjoy my toys just because it put a smile on your face. Like what about like, I don't know, it's just some things just go too far.
Girl, you know, you got it 1,000%.
I was about to say, you know.
You got it. And that's why this is so important, because people don't understand this is dangerous. Kids' books can be real dangerous. And in 2022, some of the books I've seen, I Googled it, the gay ABCs.
What the hell is that?
Yeah. I mean, it could be real blatant. Easy to see that this is a piece of crap, and it's really targeting kids in a not positive way. I'll put it like that. But then it could be very blanketed, very undercover, like this. And although you want to see it for what it is, the best of it, but you really gotta look at it from other angles. You really gotta
dig a little deeper.
It's true, and it's sad to say that when you just want to pick up a book and give it to your kid, and feel like it's gonna be all right. You know, they just learn to read, yada yada, and this looks like fun. It's engaging, but you need to really think about the content and what they could be picking up out of that. I'm gonna share this first TikTok, before I open up the first subject, because I think it also pretty much recapped everything we said. Okay.
People, if you have a hard time asking your partner directly for what you need, do you compensate by giving them what you need with the unspoken expectation that it will be reciprocated? This is a common adaptation for children whose needs were ignored, judged, or humiliated. They conclude that their needs are wrong, bad, shameful, and that expressing them leads to rejection and pain. So they adapt by learning to give to others what they need with the hope that it will somehow be returned. It was the right, best strategy for the circumstances of their childhood. But this pattern creates problems for us as adults because our giving is not authentic. It has an agenda attached to it, an unspoken contract. And when that contract is broken by our partner, who of course is completely unaware of this arrangement, we feel betrayed, which keeps us stuck in resentment and attached to the story that we will never get our needs met. The solution? Start by admitting the simple truth to yourself and to your partner that you're terrified to ask for what you need.
You all said, and you pretty much painted the picture of what that adult fish, if it makes it to adulthood after giving up all its protection, is living like. And I don't think that was thought out at all. Now that we have discussed it, we dug into it, you can clearly see that. You can clearly see that. But I think even with having this book as part of like a classroom assignment, or you reading it, doing a read aloud, I think it's good to follow up with kind of some of the conversation we just had about, for one, values. Gotta touch on those values. It could be over a kid's head to go as deep as we're going, but just like Tada said, just to put a smile on your face, I gotta be unhappy,
miserable,
right? So I think pretty much everybody knows the idea of value as a child. You have your possessions; they have a value to you. You wouldn't be upset otherwise. If you didn't care about it, you wouldn't even have an issue with giving it up, right? So it's like identifying that and what it means to a child. If this is just like parent to a parent versus like a teacher to a class, you want to kind of establish that and understand that, because that goes into a whole bunch of social emotional issues when it comes to, you know, giving up something you hold high value in. And what does it mean, and what that child can now develop as a part of being, because I feel like you're being forced in a way to have to do that if this is kind of how you're raising them. So you're, like you say, you're constantly being put in a position where your needs are not met, but you have to meet everybody else's needs.
Right.
So your value is the very small or non-existent in the world outside of, I guess, you know, your own comfort zone, your room, your home. Anything outside of that, you have no value.
Right.
However, speaking on, like, I want to say spiritually, that is something that is taught for you to develop and elevate. And not to not have value, to kind of give up and shed the ego. So that, I feel like, needs to be kind of separated in this and discussing it with a kid, because having a value system for your possessions and then really addressing ego is two different things, which I don't think they really address. I don't think they address the ego at all, because like Tada said, that's still like an ego thing. You did that for, you know, to satisfy your ego of feeling alone. You got all these people around you, all these fish around you. I know it's put out a lot of subjects at once. If anyone wants to touch on any of those, go ahead.
Can I say something? I'm surprised. I know it's weird to say this in the atmosphere of family, but I feel like I grew up where communication was very poor. And I definitely feel like it's very interesting. I'm in the Zoom meeting and it's my first one with you guys, but I definitely feel like I started to create this this defense, or not even a defense, but a way of handling myself, to where if I wanted somebody to do something for me, and I don't really ask unless I'm just down bad, like for like something, it's like I just sit here and I do it, or I just try to live it. And then I just I expect the people around me to reciprocate it, just because I'm scared to verbally communicate it, because I feel like, okay, I'm about to either go off the deep end, or they're not going to even be able to identify with what this vibe is. So I sit here and I try to create it. And then it's after a while, it's like I'm forcing something onto somebody. And that's wrong, because especially if I'm not sitting here taking into account for how they grew up and what their definition of love is. And I'm just sitting here being not a mute, but like just doing these actions of like, okay, so me, I just like to chill around sometimes. Like that's my definition of kind of just loving somebody, is just being in this real chill vibe with them all the time. But because my environment was, I just feel like hostile. So for other people, it's just like, that's not what I want to do. I want to go out. I want to, spend it. I want to like party. I want to like do that type of thing. And I'm like, that's not what I like. That's not what I wanted. It's not what I wanted from you. Like, what are you doing? And I will continue to just keep doing this, like these things, and expecting the person to reciprocate. But if I just came to them and said like, yo, how do you express your love? How do you like, just, even though that just seems so like cliche to like come at somebody, just do it in my own way. Just if I was just to communicate that or just have the words for it, then I feel like it would have helped me build better relationships. Because some people just, they don't get down like that. I had to realize that like some people, they see it as a certain, like, that's just lazy. That's just no energy towards anything. Like, that's not the way to be. You trying to make me do this. And I'm just like, yo, my whole life, I just wanted it to be quiet and nobody to hit me. And that's just it. So this is my definition of what a real chill like thing is. But I'm not catering at all to what their definition of love and life is. So I feel like in that part, I'd be like a really inadequate lover or whatever I am in that relationship, just because that communication was just horrible, I feel like.
It does fall right out of a little bit of what I was saying about values. And definitely, when you become an adult, all of those things that you were told to value shape what you accept and what your definition of love is, because that's what you knew to be love. It all ties in. It's not confusing, not off the rails. So as an adult now, how do you feel you are changing things?
I feel like I communicate, or at least I just say things, even though it may make me feel like a little humiliated at the end of the day. I just feel like I have to say it because everything else failed by me not doing it. So, even though I still have more phases to go through. So there's the phase of not really being verbally communicative, and there's a phase of being overly communicative, so you find the balance. And I feel like I'm trying to find that balance. So yeah, it's just that I start seeing what that person likes to do, and I start trying to give in that way, because I never was really in a relationship where like just go spoil people, so I never expected to be fully spoiled. So when I got spoiled, it was just like, okay,
Weird.
Yeah.
yeah.
Like,
And then
this
it
is
was just
strange.
like, okay, now I have to reciprocate that, because that was your way of, I think it should be back and forth. So like whatever that person gave to you, you should try to give it to that person, and then give to that person what you show as love, not just let it be one-sided, and then wait for that person to reciprocate it. And if they don't, say it in a nice way, in a way that you want to maintain this relationship. But yeah, I feel like it's just slowly just me watching them. I have to be visual. I have to watch them and what they do, what they like, and then just try to give it.
Hey, Destiny.
Oh, y'all laughing at me? I was just raising my
You put
hand.
your hand, yeah.
Oh,
you were
yeah,
commenting on what she was saying?
Yeah, just to piggyback off of what you said. I think the key, like I said, I'm not no damn doctor of relationships or no shit like that. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying what works for me. And to me, like you said, balance and compromise. You know, kind of like it is important you know yourself first before you try to get to know the other individual. Know what you like, what you don't like. Know what you're willing to do, what you're not willing to do. You know what I'm saying? And it is important to know how to effectively communicate that towards the person that you plan on being with. I honestly feel like if you feel like you can't talk to this person, I honestly don't feel like you should be with that person, because communication is very important. If you are not able to talk to the person you love, it is going to be a serious problem in the long run. And that is going to be with everything, whether it be washing clothes, putting away dishes. And then when you throw kids in the mix, it makes it even more of a problem, because now it's not just you two, it's you three, you four, you five, you know what I'm saying? Depending on how many kids you got. So, you know, it is very important to know how to effectively communicate. You know, like if you're not comfortable with something, voice it. Now it is very important on how you voice it. You know, that's why I said it's important to know yourself first and then know the other individual. That way, when it comes time to voice how you feel, you know how to effectively communicate based on how you feel, what's going on with you, and what's going on with them as well. Because sometimes, depending on who the person is, you do got to say stuff a little harsh in order to get their attention. Be like, hey, I don't like that. And some people you can just say, hey, I don't like that. Some people you got to be like, I said I don't like that shit. You know what I'm saying? So don't do it. It just depends on who you're talking to, who you are, you know, and who that other individual is. But it is important to communicate how you feel, because that's the only way you're going to get that balance that you're trying to achieve in your life and in your relationship. Yeah, from my experience. That's it.
I'm going to let Gloria go ahead, and then I'm going to piggyback off of what Destiny said.
Well, I want to piggyback off of what Tada was saying earlier about you know, the different stages and phases that you go through as you grow and matriculate through this world. And I want to relate it directly back to the book on the fish and to the TikTok that the man was saying, because the three things are so intertwined and connected. So if you go back to the fish in the beginning, the fish loved its scales, loved them, felt good about the scales, but then this thing that made the fish unique and beautiful was the same thing that caused isolation and loneliness. So how many times do you find yourself in any relationship, whether it's with family, friends, co-workers, any relationship where you have a unique talent, ability, beauty, or something that people pretend that they like you, or they'll share your content, or they'll secretly talk behind your back, but they act like they like you, but you're secretly alone. You're openly alone. If y'all get what I'm saying, like a lot of people have followers and Facebook friends, and they are in constant big crowds, but at the end of the day, they're very lonely. Mm-hmm. Because the people who admire them really don't like them.
Yeah.
They really don't. So when it goes back, okay, so the fish realizes, hey, I'm beautiful. Self-esteem, great self-esteem, I'm beautiful. And then somebody is like, I want to take from your beauty. Now I feel like I'm going to spiral out into a tangent for 1 second. Like Net was saying earlier, it's different when you're talking about something existential outside of the body. Then it's a whole different thing when you're telling me to chip away at who I am to make you happy. That goes back into the trauma that the TikTok man was talking about. When you grow up in traumatic experiences where you're being yelled at and hit and your feelings are not valued, your self-esteem is chipped away at, and it makes it easier for you to give more of yourself than you're supposed to. Because in your childhood, you knew what you needed to do to get what you needed. So if you needed to be quiet to get affection from a parent, you would be quiet. Even if you didn't feel like being quiet, and like for me, my personal personality is not quiet. It's not quiet. but I had to be quiet to get the love that I felt that I wanted in a moment. Or I've been told my whole life, you so extra, you so extra, you so extra. And people find it very annoying. Very annoying. And it's very lonely because you have to be who you are not to get around, to make the crowd bigger. So the crowd got bigger when the fish felt lower. You took away my beauty. You took away my skills. You took away my mobility. You took away my protection. And now I'm popular. So when you think about the childhood trauma that everybody has something, no matter how small or how great. We all walk away from our childhoods trying to heal. And that book has such bad messaging because it will allow children to play into that trauma. Well, I got attention from my daddy when I was extra tomboyish, and that's how I got his affection and love. Then you go out into the streets and you become somebody that you are not to make the crowd bigger. So it plays right back into what Tabia was saying, how Destiny was even saying, how communication is so essential and being true to yourself. You know, in my lonely time, in my isolation time, in my setting boundaries time, I realized I'm loud as hell. I'm happy being loud. And when I'm quiet as hell. And I'm happy. I don't need a big crowd. So as you get from 20s to 30s to 40s and so forth, you go through all of these cycles and these ups and these downs, but all of that is developing who you are. And I feel like that Rainbow Fish book sends such bad messaging, and it allows children to live in their trauma and tells kids, hey, to make the crowd bigger around you, just think, oh, if you give your friends all your candy or your snack money, you get more people. You're not lonely anymore. Or if you make yourself look bummy and ugly and cut your hair off because you have the longest, prettiest, curliest hair in the class, and all the girls are mean to you because you are pretty. And I've seen this in my own, teaching experience where girls will try to make themselves look less because, the girls that don't feel like attractive, they don't feel beautiful. The pretty girls are lonely because.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. I digress. Go ahead.
You said, like the book was saying, like doing all these things to make the crowd bigger. Like, I don't really dive into the Bible, but I feel like that's against God, because I feel like God promotes, if what the situation you're going through is just stripping you away, like, then that you just need to be more isolated. Isolation is it's not a bad thing to be isolated,
right?
And to be alone, because sometimes that strengthens your connection with God. And just to give away what God gave you to have more people around you, I think that's definitely a bad message for kids. And like even when I was it first grade, like I would take my shirt, and I tied it in this knot, like a crop top thing, because I saw like this. I had to see like this video the day before, and I made my shirt into a crop top, and I walked around like that, and I was really tomboyish, so it's like it wasn't really something for me to do, but I just felt like people weren't liking me for numerous reasons. I was definitely like, the girls didn't like me because I was really rough. And then the boys didn't like me because like I wasn't interacting with them in the way that other girls would. And it's like, it just made it weird. And so I was just trying to fit in. And so I watched this video as a kid, and I saw the girl getting attention from wearing the crop top, like the video like zoomed in on her stomach, and she was walking, the hips were like moving and everything. Like, and I did this like for 3 days straight. And my teacher, she wouldn't even really say anything. She noticed it. She was a Black lady. She noticed it, and she would just take my shirt and like unfold it. And she put it down, and she was just like, you was okay without that. And it's just like, after a while, it's just like, I think it just started making me like realize that even though I was like not giving my skills away, I do think it was taking away from me. because I was very smart, very bright, but I was trying to put these, like, for some reason, like trying to feed my esteem in ways that wasn't really fed, and I was watching getting fed. I was just too young to even be engulfed in that, like to even want that attention. Like, so it's sad to even think about, but it's just like from a young age, you start doing things for the attention of just people who don't mean you no good, like none, like at all. Like, and what satisfaction was I getting? Oh, just the comments, or the more people that just wanted to play or tag or something. Like, when you grow up, you realize that you start doing the same things. Like I'm gonna wear this, so I'm gonna go out on this day, even though I don't feel like going out, just so these people will continuously talk to me every day or have stable, like, whatever. It's just like, it's wrong. And I felt like I definitely I read The Rainbow Fish around that, not that same year, but definitely was introduced to me around that time. And I definitely don't know if they had that straight, like, effect. I will blame a lot of different things, but definitely I feel like it contradicts the Bible. And sometimes being alone is when your gifts really shine through. And if we want to be honest, beauty is internal. And if you walk in and just think about the mental state of the other fish. So it's like, who would I be to come up to somebody and be like, yo, like y'all said, I like your hair. I really love how long your hair is. Can you cut it off so I can, like, put it in mine? Like, that mental state right there, just take it off the rainbow fish and put it onto the other fish. The mental state for you to swim around and admire me, you just can't admire me for how beautiful I am. You want that attention for yourself. It's not that, oh, your heart's going to pump faster or your skin's going to get, I don't know, just more health. You just want to be pretty, like, and get the attention. That's nothing that you have to share. You don't have to share your beauty with anybody. Like, that is you. God created that. Like, why would you tarnish that? I mean, you can share beauty in ways of knowledge of, this is how you carry yourself. This is how you get to some money. This is how, but when it comes to other things, I feel like it's just wrong. It's like giving a man a fish and then teaching them how to fish.
Yes, girl.
Yes,
Yes.
Give everything
two
away.
subjects at once.
Yes.
Okay,
I would
I'm
do
gonna
that.
piggyback on this conversation subject with this next TikTok.
I hate the fact that people have to feel like they're beneath other people based on, I didn't do shit for this face. And that's something I explain to my kids regularly. When people tell my daughter that she's beautiful, I correct them. Yes, take that compliment. She'll say, that's God's compliment. That's not my compliment, but thank you. Because she didn't do shit for that.
Wow.
The first thing
Can we
that
write
happens,
that down?
the first thing that happens is when you find yourself in a messed up situation as a grown up, you're like, damn, what can I do? What can I do? I'm pretty. So now you about to trick with, now you about to hit the stage. Now you about to use your face because you know how to use your face to get what you want, because he's been telling you you're pretty all your life. I hate that shit.
Wow. So
I
now,
hate that shit.
now
So
we need
be
a press
clear.
conference.
The reason why I have such feelings about this conversation is because this is something I am very intentional about.
Yeah.
My daughter is light skinned, hair look like mine, green eyes. I tell her regularly, you better be smart, because that face ain't gonna do to get you laid on your motherfucking back.
When we find students that are not exceptionally smart or attractive and they have bad behavior, we will like, dog, you not smart, you not cute, and you disrespectful. You gonna have a hard life. But I never thought about the messaging we were sending to stereotypically, culturally pretty kids, because pretty kids are treated differently. And after seeing that TikTok, it made me think, hey, we need to start holding prettier kids to a higher standard. Because like that mother was saying about her daughter, your looks will only make you end up on your back. Because pretty girls get lonely too. And when you do find yourself in a rough spot, people have pacified you all along. You're so pretty. Oh, you don't have to make a good grade. You're so pretty. You get to go to recess. Oh, you didn't mean to do that, did you? Now, I know y'all might not agree with me, but I'm telling you, I've worked in education for 17 years. And I'm telling you, teachers are biased to physically attractive children. They are biased, and they let Good looking kids get away with way more, way more. But what messaging are we sending? What message are we sending to pretty girls? So when you have not been made to work, or you have not been made to build your character, kind of back to the rainbow fish who was lonely, instead of sitting in loneliness and saying, I am good enough, even though nobody is attracted to me. The rainbow fish gave up all of its beauty to become regular so that the crowd got big. So what do we tell our attractive women, girls, and boys? You don't have to work as hard because you're beautiful, but what about when you're in a bad position? What about when you're in a bad position and you haven't built your character? Like that mom said, you have a higher chance of ending up on your back or on the pole. And you're giving away a part of yourself, like the rainbow fish did. You're giving away a part of yourself to bring the crowd to fix a problem. I just think the book has very bad messaging, and the TikToks that you picked were very constructive in deconstructing the book.
I think the TikTok in the book definitely the last TikTok in the book, because like she said, it ain't gonna do nothing but get you laid on your back. And for the rainbow fish, and like Gloria said, it don't do nothing but take your protection away. But it also depends on your heart. I don't know, because some pretty people, like, they don't ever have the intention of giving like any of their like attractiveness away. So it can be like very narrow, but at the same time, it was still feeding the fish's pride at the end of the day to give away its beauty. I feel like beauty is definitely cursed in a way. It might not be instant, but I think life definitely, if you don't have good intentions with your beauty, it will definitely do you in. And I feel like nobody is exempt from that. It don't matter what satisfaction you get here on earth. That internal dissatisfaction from what you know that you did or caused is, I think, way greater than what any dude can give attention to. Like, at this point, I don't care. Like, that's not making it to me. It's not making it that I have people who just think I'm cute, because at the end of the day, I've already got that. Like, I've already experienced that. And so it's really internal at this point. Everything's internal. Because even the prettiest people, just to see them now is just nothing. Like, not attractive. I don't get like hot for them or nothing. Like, just anything that they do just can't touch my soul at all, just because of their character. And I just feel like at the end of the day, I know pretty people feel like they get the advantage, but I think everybody gets what they deserve. And you can't just be looking at people and be like, oh, she didn't get what she deserved then, or she got that because she's pretty. Yeah, I would just let that all slide, honestly, because at the end of the day, like, karma is so real, energy is so real, everything, every action has a reaction. Like, you ain't getting away from it. Like, you ain't getting away from your real life teaching just because you pretty. Like, life is life. Like, you gonna get old one day if you blessed to see that, wrinkled. You gonna have to deal with the pain of, even like, if y'all seen like Tangled, and the mother, she's basically jealous of her daughter, or keeps her daughter shackled up in the house because of her prettiness at this point. And now that's her curse. The rest of her life, she's just upset that she'll never be that again. But I feel like that's everybody in due time.
I see you, man. I got it. I got
go
it.
ahead, Destiny.
Okay. I don't know if I'm gonna articulate it right. I didn't get to watch that whole TikTok, but I did watch that one. And I agree, you shouldn't just push the beauty thing, but I don't agree with what she said to her daughter.
Mm.
I don't think you should say it to a boy or a girl. You know, the only thing being pretty is going to get you on your back on a pole. First of all, I think it is important that you preach to your child that you are beautiful, especially as Black children. It is very important because when you don't feel pretty inside, it is very easy for people to take advantage of. I mean, very easy. I've seen it. It is very easy because it's like that insecurity is just real. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like I don't think you should only stress beauty. You should stress intelligence, integrity, honesty, you know, ambition. But don't say, you know, the only thing being pretty is gonna get you on a pole on your back. Because like she said, she didn't have control over that beauty. And you making her feel like because she's beautiful it's a problem. You know what I'm saying? It's just like it's unfair. You know what I'm saying? She shouldn't be bashed because she's pretty. You know what I'm saying? You are pretty, but there's more to you than your beauty. You know, there are other things inside of you besides the fact that you're pretty. You can do anything you want. You know what I'm saying? You can be whatever you want. But don't I don't feel like she should say that. You know what I'm saying? There are other ways to, you know, try to push things besides the beauty.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Definitely agree with what you had typed. That clearly, you know, she probably is if that's the kind of conversations they're having. But just like Destiny said, it's important to highlight all those other characteristics of just a good person that she should be striving for, not solely focusing on her beauty. I think that makes a difference too. And it's also what you're reinforcing at home. It's like you can be pretty. I know a lot of pretty people who don't necessarily put time into their beauty, if that's the right word, with the hair and the lashes and how they dress. Yeah. It's like they're really all about what makes them comfortable. And if that is an old holy hoodie, walking around with their green eyes and their pretty hair, it's not a thing. It's not a thing. They themselves and in their home aren't treated any differently. And they don't ask for any other type of treatment. And that's individually, you know, and it's all reinforced though by what is going on in your environment. And things like this, the type of books you're reading, books that have representation and have just as a normal story as everybody else, not one where the character who's the prettiest is, you know, privy to all of the, you know, the trinkets and things in the story, which is a lot of what's coming out now. And there was a point where we had like a wave of no more like fat or unattractive witches. They started to become prettier, they're skinny, they are nice. And it's like, I was so happy because it's like that's a real representation of life though. It's the ones you don't expect.
Yep.
The one that look like, you know, the person next door or someone you grew up with is the one that's really actually the one that's gonna take care of you if something's happening, or someone you can run to for protection.
Right.
Did you want to add anything, Daniel?
Is that what he said? I had a really hard time understanding what he was saying.
Excuse me. I feel this is a conversation me and Gloria have been having for decades. I feel like society, in a way, kind of reduced us to our simplest attributes. You know, they go by look, height, race, you know, how we sound. And it's very easy for some people to start using those simple attributes as a vehicle, you know, to get access, you know, to places and powers and wealth. And there are women that do emphasize their beauty because that's their sense of empowerment. but I don't feel like it's there to blame. We're to blame a society that make women feeling that that's their currency, right? That's their power. That's the superpower, right? So the beauty aspect is, it is true. Gloria is right that teachers are biased. I noticed that when I was a little kid, because I had a big old head, I was an immigrant, that the teachers did ignore me. They did feel like I didn't have much to offer. I was, they pretty much in their head, thought to themselves, this kid is not going to amount to anything. Why waste my energy on him, right? So and kids do feel that. They do feel those unconscious biases. They don't have the words to express it, but they do feel it. They feel like they're being picked on. They feel like they're being ignored, and they do lash out in subtle ways. So it's behoove us to kind of work a little harder to not simplify people by just these simple attributes, right? To not judge people by their appearance, their height, their accent, or whatever simple attribute that they present. To go a little deeper, to be a little bit more patient, to be a little bit more charitable and compassionate with our time. And it's a really, really, really thing, because in our own culture, right? We've been struggling with colorism, right? The women that have a little lighter skin, a little straighter hair, or more curlier hair, the men tend to be attracted to, because we've been socialized, to see this as what beauty is, and that's not true, right? That's not true beauty, right? Because it just been beaten into our brains since we're little kids, with Disney movies and all kind of superheroes and all kind of ideas, Barbie being, straight hair and light skin, right?
Light skin.
Yeah, most black girls don't have a black Barbie until they're much older, unless their parents are very intentional about getting them a black Barbie, and kids internalize these little messages, and it's very hard. And I feel like we do put pressure in a subtle ways on the little girls that are prettier. We do expect less out of them, as Gloria was saying, and we do put a little bit more pressure on the little girl who are not traditionally beautiful, right? They have, the darker skin girls, the girls with more napping hair. It's unfair, but that is the society we live in,
I want to add something. I think everything that you guys have said is true, but then you do have that group that doesn't really do those type of things, that doesn't that isn't biased towards somebody might be lighter skin or darker skin. And I really think those type of things come from within and come from your upbringing, because I know I was raised to treat everybody right regardless how someone looks or whatever. So I mean, I guess it's kind of sad for a teacher or whomever to treat a child that way, because like you said, children can feel that, people can feel that. So, but I think there is a group of people or a group of teachers that don't do those type of things, that sees the potential or holds everybody accountable for who they are, regardless of how they look.
Chabia, go ahead.
Piggyback. Oh, go ahead, Destiny. My bad.
No, Chabia had her hand raised.
Oh, my bad. I didn't even see that.
I was trying to remember. Does anybody have anything else to say? I was wait.
I wanted to piggyback real quick on what Toya was saying. I am a big advocate of that more Black people need to go into education, and especially Black men. That is my big platform. Y'all know me. Y'all know that's for a long time. But I'm like, we need more Black people in the classroom, because these biases are happening now. Education everywhere is saturated by non-Black people, especially here in the South. You have a large majority of the teachers educating Black children, large Black populations. A majority of their teachers are not Black. So therefore, the bias is even greater in, when children are dealing with people who don't look like them. So when children are against, colorism is very real, especially in the South. and you have these biracial children with their long curly hair or their sandy blonde hair, you hear teachers that are non-Black tell them, oh, you're so beautiful. Your hair is so beautiful. And then the child that is sharing Black features with them, but they don't have the curly hair, they don't have, you know, the lighter hue, they are definitely treated differently. So I think it is really important that for me, as a Black teacher, and a majority of my coworkers are non-Blacks, I always point this out to them. Or I always celebrate the child that comes in after her braids are out. We all know when we take them braids out our hair, you don't get your hair immediately braided again, so you come in with your afro to school. And those girls want to wear the hoodies, they sink, they shrink themselves because their hair is not done. So I'm the teacher, because I'm one of the only Black ones in my old school on my pod. I'd be like, shake your fro. Y'all know the little thing where they be like, stiff wear. So when the girls have they froze out, I always like am overly dramatic about how beautiful their froze are. And all the girls know I wear my natural hair. They all know I wear my natural hair. So when I take my braids out, you know, I'm like, stiff wear. And we shake our afros. We put in afro puffs. And it makes them feel so good that there is at least one teacher that celebrates their Afrocentric features, whether they are biracial, whether they are Black or what. Because when them braids come out, you can see a whole different personality in the children. Why? They're treated differently by their teachers. They are treated differently by each other. Especially if you ain't got no hair when them braids come out.
Yes, sir.
They treat each other terribly. So I am the teacher.
That's a beautiful head of hair.
But I am that teacher that when those kids come in after their mom has made them take their braids out, because I understand the cultural biases, and they need to feel beautiful and they need to feel pretty, and they keep that hoodie on. And I've gotten in trouble and reprimanded several times because I won't make the kid remove their hoodie. I won't make a kid remove her hoodie. And I'm like, you know, coercing them to take it off because they're getting in trouble when they go into the hallways and things like that, like how beautiful they are with their natural hair. And that whether they got the braids in or not, that they're beautiful. These biases exist. And that's why our girls are braided up, weaved up, lashed up at 11 years old, because they know in our culture and in our society, beauty holds a heavy weight. It's a heavy weight, and Daniel and I have talked about this many, many times. It promotes capitalism. We buy the weave, we buy the lashes. Why? Because it makes the crowd bigger. It makes you more socially acceptable. And just like that rainbow fish, you did something to make the crowd bigger. And I see it every day as a teacher, every day.
I wanted to say, I feel like somebody said it, but I don't remember. I think it's definitely a spiritual battle that we have here on earth. The differentiation between spirituality and then being so wrapped in the physical. If we just change the currency, like if today the US dollar wasn't what they accepted at the stores anymore, everybody would just be trying to find what is accepted. Like say it's apples. We don't want money anymore. We want apples. Everybody's gonna go grow apple trees. Here's the apples. So it's just like when you have a society where girls get what they want and based off of their looks, you start to build a society of people who just, that's all they really have to offer, or that's what you only see them offering. Is because that's the currency. That's how everything's being traded. So it's just adaptation. So when you have people so focused on this physical realm, that's what you're going to get. And I feel like that's going to have us always operating in a lower state of being, is this physical like being so wrapped in the physical. But if this was like a more spiritual thing, I feel like people will be more fulfilled. And because when you give somebody away give something away spiritually, it's like lighting a flame, like a candle. Like you keep yours on and you light theirs. But when you just strip away something like that's like physical, your beauties, your looks, you're not getting nothing back. I feel like that's sin, very sinful. Even though you're thinking you're promoting it, like the well-being of everybody around you, I just think that's sin or at least ungodly. And I feel like just saying if we all just started to operate in a more spiritual realm, not caring what people look like, well, at least if they try to keep clean and neat, that's important. But just not being too wrapped up in like what their hair texture is, like, then we would achieve more as a
Physical
whole.
and superficial.
But yeah, that's really it.
You just took me into where I was going next. You wanna go first? I was gonna play the last video that kind of touched on what I was saying.
Okay, I'll go real quick then. But this is also this is kind of a difficult subject because, like she said, in our society, you know, people do push up the pretty people, but then we also do it ourselves, even though we don't mean to. In some instances, we all do it. You know what I'm saying? So it does make things a little difficult because even when you're looking at somebody, you know, you say, you know, some people say, I'm just focused on nothing but the personality. But somewhere along those lines, this person is attracted to you. You say, you know what I'm saying? You like their beauty and their personality. It's not just their personality. If you don't find them attractive, you're not interested in them. You know, so it's just, it's sometimes it can be a difficult, you know, subject. So it's like, just don't focus on the beauty only. You know what I'm saying? Focus on something more than the beauty, but don't sit there and ignore it and act like the beauty isn't a part of them. You know?
Yeah.
It's hard to explain. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Sometimes it looks like you even look at a person or like conversation.
It is true we have biological drive. There are people we just find them attractive, right? They just goddamn sexy. Like, I just want to suck on you, right? But then,
no, he did.
I mean, you have to be honest. You have to be honest with yourself. You have to be honest with yourself, right?
You're right.
And he's so goddamn tall and sexy and six pack and just smell good and look good. It's like, why do you exist? Do you exist to torment me, right? But then you gotta try to pass that, right? You gotta try to pass that and then try to value that person more than just their look, because unless you admit to that biological drive, you can't control it, right? It's like, okay, this thing is hitting me, right? With everything, I gotta admit, okay, I am on fire right now, right? And then you can focus to go, go get a shower, right? To turn it down. But but we have to read it as a society. We have this problem. We because most of us are not 6 foot, with hair down our back, with perfect teeth, with perfect conditions, with all the time and money to look how we please, right? And then because then we find ourselves miserable when we're alone, because why can I find that right person now? Why can I find so and so? Well, because you're looking in the wrong places, right? Your gaze is too narrow, right? So, and because me and Gloria talk about this all the time, because capitalism want us lonely, right? They want us lonely, fat, and miserable, right?
Misery.
So, right. Because then we spend and buy crap we don't need to impress people who don't care about us, so we don't feel so miserable, right? So this is the problem that we have to deal with, that the fact that we have to recognize, yes, we have those biological drive in a sense, and if we focus on just drive, then we deny people opportunity to really be their true selves,
Yeah.
That's perfect.
I like that,
in the
Gloria.
chat. Could you repeat that for us, please?
You talking to Gloria or Daniel?
No,
in the chat.
Whoever said that quote, beauty standards were set for us, not by us. Yeah,
that's very true.
We are a victim of those beauty symptoms. Yeah, don't forget that we didn't determine what we found attractive. It was determined for us, then brainwashing to us, right? So we have to fight those. We have to fight those tendencies. We have to try to deprogram ourselves.
Yeah. So I just want, because I know Net was moving to the next video. Destiny, I think you articulated that so wonderfully. It's going to be problematic for millennia to come, but like Daniel was saying, we just gotta acknowledge it. We gotta acknowledge it. Black people did not set the beauty standards in America, and beauty standards differ on each continent and in each country. You know, everybody values something different, but once we recognize our own biology and accept it, this is what I like, but now go deeper. So maybe I don't get to marry the 6-foot man, but I get to marry the man that treats me kindly, that is respectful, that is a good provider, that's loyal. He ain't 6 foot, he don't have hazel eyes. He don't have perfect teeth, but he treats me kindly. He's going to stick in there with my children. He's going to nurture them. You know what I'm saying? So those are the different things. You know, we have weight standards, beauty standards, you know, all of these things. But like Daniel was saying, we recognize our biology and then move beyond it. So that's.
I have a question. I do agree with what you guys are saying. But when you guys were talking about the beauty standards being set by society, is it really set by society, or is that a personal thing? Because so many different people like different things. So, you know, like they say, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So, you know, it's kind of like you can look at it both ways. Because like you guys were saying, the 6-foot person, long hair, some people will probably be like, ugh, you know, that's not masculine to me. You know, I want to.
I was trying to hold off on that one.
Yeah.
That one can go long.
Yeah. Like, I don't know, because again, that's touchy, because society does set a kind of standard. Because think about movies, TVs, you know, think about all that kind of stuff. At first, before this whole push for, you know, to promote African American, you know, beauty, they did have a set way of how they thought, you know, the perfect woman or man should look. It's just a matter of now that Black people are knowing about themselves and coming into themselves as a society, we like, that's not us. That's never going to be us. So we change how we think of, we change those beauty standards. You get what I'm saying?
No, I get what you're saying. And I, like I said, I agree with what everybody's saying. But then, you know, I guess my thought or my perspective is like, when does it become internalized? Because yeah, those standards are there, but some things don't apply to me. Like, okay, so the long hair, you know, weave and all that. I've been nappy hair since nappy hair wasn't even in. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've been natural, or like, you know, I've never been that person to find, oh, you have to have this and you have to have that. So that's why I was, you know, just saying you have that group. I mean, everybody's different because, you know, you do have that group that sees what society paints, but it doesn't really apply to them because they don't agree.
I mean, it's definitely lucky to have that mindset, especially when people just want to feel accepted and just feel okay when they go home. To have that mindset, even though you might not look at somebody else's standard, that's being blessed simply right there, that you are comfortable with yourself at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like, that's beauty. That's heaven right there. Like, just to be comfortable with whatever girl out your scalp, and that's it. Like, I think like that's beautiful. Like, and some people haven't reached that and won't ever reach that. And sometimes, even though those people might try to walk around like they're the biggest and baddest thing, I would feel bad for them because they're not okay. They are trying to reach a standard that 9 times out of 10 they are not going to.
Yeah. I want to say, I feel like once Black people started really looking into themselves, like really doing the research, because I feel like just like within the last couple of years, I feel like Black people are really, really digging into their history, like really, you know, looking at where the features came from, looking at, you know, this intelligence, you know, the amount of money we used to behold, you know, our people, I'm not gonna say us, but our people used to behold. Once you really take a look at your history, you kind of become proud of who you are and what your features are. And when you become proud of yourself, you don't have to worry about trying to reach those unattainable beauty goals. You know what I'm saying? Like some people will just never have straight hair. Like at one point I was getting perms religiously, you know, like my hair had fell out. I had to get it cut real short. All you saw me wear was super long braids. And you know, it just takes a minute for you to realize that that's not me. That's never gonna be me, you know, and I appreciate what I have.
And you're healthier being yourself.
Right. And I see where it came from, and I see there's beauty in that too. I don't have to have super straight hair to be pretty. You know, I have my, as you can see, you know, my kinky, sometimes curly, wavy hair, and that's just fine. But you know, it just takes a matter of realizing, you know, your beauty standards and seeing that, you know, I'm pretty.
Yeah. And I agree with what you said, and I think like even for like that your comment in regards to that one parent that was kind of belittling her daughter who was, you know, had all those things.
Yeah.
You know, the curly hair and everything, and then she was basically beating her down for being that way. So, you know, that's why I say it's like internally, like, you know, it's okay. However you come out, if you light skin, curly hair, that's fine. You know, if you dark skin, short hair, that's fine too. You know, because I like my nieces and them, they're biracial. And so they're lighter skin, you know, straighter hair and everything. And I find beauty in them. And I also find beauty in my nephew, who is, you know, his father's from Africa. You know, I see them both the same way. He's dark skinned. So, you know, it's all the same beauty to me. So, you know, again, I didn't agree with that mom, how she was bashing her for being who she was. So, you know, you should paint, you meaning anybody, you should paint your own image of what beautiful is. However God bless you to be, you know, embrace who you are.
Yeah.
Would y'all say that beauty is survival though? Like for some people, like the dark skin, the straight teeth, like sometimes that equates to health to people, like longevity, like and like when we were like back in the days, that's literally how even peacocks, like that's how they get around. Like they look at each other and see how you perform, and that's how my kids are going to be. We're going to have a long bloodline. Like it's in us to already look at these features, but when you have these features put in your face all the time on TV, it sometimes gets misconstrued. Or when you have your biggest I guess your inspirations, your father, your mother, whoever they look like, whoever is in close proximity to you, it'll alter those perceptions. But at the end of the day, I feel like it also is survival. Some of these instincts that we have to these people that we cling to maybe not be the best judgment, but it's what we know.
But that's kind of back to what Daniel was saying earlier about, you know, we do have those basic instincts when he was talking about when you find somebody that's just super attractive, but you have to be willing and aware to look beneath that attractiveness. Because I've seen some pretty ass people, but they ain't shit. Not
right. But
oh, I can definitely attest to that. Some pretty jerk.
But we have to be careful into buying the science of beauty, right? About straight teeth, where we are naturally attracted. That because that's not true. Because if you go back in the tribe, you know, in Africa, where nobody has a toothbrush, where nobody's brushing their teeth, you know, when nobody's taking a shower and everybody stunk, right? That's not how beauty is decided, right?
You had to find beauty in that.
right. The beauty that those tribes find at a natural, basic biological level, like Gloria was saying, right? Who is going to be a great provider, a great protector, a great person to have a conversation with, a great person I know in the middle of the night I can wake up and say, I need a cup of water. They're going to go get that cup of water for you, right? Yeah. Where there's a lot of false science into justifying our cultural way of beauty, right? Where the scientists say, well, you know, with the peacock, like, beautiful feather, but I'm not a damn peacock, right? I'm a human being, right? So we got to be careful with that scientism, right? Don't buy into it. A lot of it is crap, right? It's people trying to write paper to become professors on garbage stuff, right? Don't buy into the scientism. A lot of it is not true. It's based on people's justification of a culture that want to demean and deny people opportunity based on their appearance not being common. You know what I mean? So be careful with that.
Right.
Okay? We don't have to accept those cultural norms. They're not natural. They're norms. You can break them.
I think that's something that people mature to figure out, for one. And like we talked about in a previous, even though it's based on relationships and marriage that we were talking, it was mentioned that I asked, how do we change this? And I believe Eric said, kill off all the old people, something like that.
Yeah.
It's like it was brainwashing that we have certain aesthetics, but then when you grow up, those things change. You become a bit more enlightened, you're a bit more seasoned, you have a couple of experiences, like
Right.
then you see, okay, yeah, all, maybe not all, but a lot of quote unquote cute light-skinned guys were jerks to me. So I no longer have an affinity for that, even though that's something that's on the outside that didn't really speak to individually how this person was, but it takes a person time to understand, oh, it's just generally people who are assholes in this way that, I don't vibe with, and that I really don't like to be around. There was a point in time where you were into that for XYZ reasons, but it takes time to break all those things down. But it's important that as we do, we're not then passing down, and it's hard, especially when you're a parent, you try to go back and reinforce the things you feel like you grew up with that worked out well, but maybe not really digging deep enough into it and seeing how, the message can be confusing for one.
Right.
And then it can also spin off and start to develop all the things we're talking about now. Because it didn't just happen. It's because of the cartoons, the things on the cereal box, the books, the things reinforced in the classroom, interactions socially with adults and other children, and what they brought to the table from their households. It took a lot of time and a lot of manicuring from government, society, parents, media, culture to get things to where they are. We're in a point of change in our human history, and unfortunately, like we were talking earlier about the way politics is right now and how the country is divided in certain ways. I see it as a distraction from us not making those changes that we need to make, because we're focusing on those scales. I'm gonna say it like that. We're too busy looking at the scales and not really looking at why those fish want my scales, why are these scales so important. If they are my scales, they're important to me. But why are they trying to devalue me to make me fit into this, peg, or this hole rather?
Right.
It's the bottom line of what I'm saying is taking the lesson and making sure you're relating it on the kids coming up, the kids you come across in your path. If you're a teacher, when you are disseminating those lessons, I would say this would be a book definitely I would make a lesson plan out of, because if you could make a child see this in a children's book versus like a textbook or a novel, because they get those kind of assignments too when you're in the upper grades.
Yeah.
I feel like you could write a deeper paper on something so minuscule, they might say, versus, a novel where it's like, they have all of these other like subcategories and ideas that they're talking about. Like, I feel like this is pretty simple, but it brought out so much. It didn't need to be, 100 and some odd pages.
That's what I be trying to tell my professor. When I was in school, you don't have to write 25 pages to get to the point, man. Jesus Christ.
Exactly. And it's like, what does that, well, that's another subject, but I'm just going to say, like, where does that lead to next? That's the bottom line. Because if I have to take 2-3 hours dig into something to get to the bottom line, now what? Am I really learning, or am I just doing this to now do a test? Because that was another subject we talked about before. What is all of this for? Just to do a test?
Pretty much.
I'm going to go back. I'm going to play this last video, and this is piggybacking off of what Tabia was touching on in terms of spirituality. I love Sadhguru. I just took a portion of this video. I highlighted that one specifically because we were talking about him, the fish, giving away its scales. And when I had mentioned that still incompleteness, and then somebody, I think it's Tada, talked about how the other fish, are now in possession of these scales, but what kind of fish is that to want, a part of someone else to feel happy? Yeah, so even with giving up its scales now, okay, these fish don't owe that fish anything. They may enjoy for that time, dissipate, and it's by itself again. It gave up so much, and for what? Originally, it was happy, being unique, but then when it felt alone, okay, I don't want to feel alone. So what can I do to not feel alone? It's trying to satisfy something. Speaking to the average human, we all have a longing, like he was saying. And I feel like that's something they're not really going to teach in school in the way that Sadhguru is kind of expressing, trying to focus on that non-physicality and trying to have that satisfaction. It's hard to relate to a child, I want to say under 8. Correct me if I'm wrong, teacher. And that trying to make them or help them to understand something beyond the physical in terms of giving of self and value.
I feel like sometimes for the people who are not somewhat wired for religion or spirituality, it's really hard to try to get them to grasp the value of something outside themselves. And the tool I've been able to use to help them understand that is using the sense of the future, right? You want to behave in a way that future you will be proud of you. You want to do things future you will appreciate, right? The value of saving is that future you will not be living in poverty, right? The value of staying healthy is that future you will not suffer. The value of you having a community of people that care about you is that future you will not be alone, right? Where I feel like those kind of ideas are easier to grasp for some people than understanding the spirituality of life on why you should try to be less focused on gratification, right? Like on lust, on immediate happiness, and be more focused on cultivating a life that future you will be proud of.
It makes clear sense to me. It makes clear sense to me because one of the things that I've been struggling with recently in my life is purpose. So when I had my boys, I was like, oh, my purpose is to be a great mother and to raise them to be these sound individuals and la 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 la. And now that they're grown and on their own, what's my purpose? What is my purpose? And I struggled with like even borderline depression because I could not figure out what am I supposed to be doing. But I really appreciate that you should only be focused on the future you. I could be right now living the healthiest life that I could possibly live, so I'm not physically and mentally suffering in my future. or making sure that I am spending my money wisely, investing it wisely so that the future me can be comfortable and eat and have a roof over my head. The relationships that I'm cultivating right now should, I should be respectful and balanced, like Tabia and I think Destiny were talking about in the beginning about the balance in the relationships, so that the future me, I'm not stuck with a bunch of people I really don't like. That it's balanced and I'm in the future me. It just makes sense. It just makes sense. And I think that you're right. If you're not biologically wired to believe in something greater than yourself, you don't have a compass to believe in God or anything like that, that future you, that is something I think everybody can understand. Will I be happy with the future me? That was powerful to me. It was. Really
you think that has to be biological? It can't be taught or groomed?
I mean, spirituality, it seems, in my experience, let me speak from my experience. There are people that I met in my life who seem to have a resonant frequency for spirituality. They seem to understand that their place in the universe. They seem to accept the fact that reality is more than what we can perceive. Our eyes are only wired to sense a certain frequency of light. Our ears can only hear certain sounds. Our senses can only feel. Just the fact that dogs can smell 1,000,000 times more sensitivity to our own noise, right? Dogs are 1,000,000 times more sensitive to smell than we are, right? So the reality of dog experience is a lot more colorful and smell than our reality. There's some people who naturally understand that reality and understand that the universe is more than what they can perceive. But there are people that just does not make sense to them, right? Because they're so wired to only see their own internal bubble, right? That's all they can see. And to me, the language that helped them is tell them, be responsible for the future you. Would you be happy with the person you becoming 20 years from now?
I would definitely like to delve deeper into that, the future you part, but we've been on this for like 2 hours, so I'm not gonna I'll save it for another talk, but definitely, because like you were saying, it helps for a child to have that background, especially if the household is spiritual or religious. But for those who are not, I would definitely like to have something that a parent that's trying to do that can work with. Definitely that using the future you concept is very helpful, very helpful. I'm not sure if you're a spiritual person or not, Daniel, but I would love to talk more about that and how, I don't want to really get too much into religion, but I know that can go either way.
I'm a religious person. I'm borderline a minister. Gloria know me a long time. I'm trained in ways of ministry, but I don't tend to lead with that. I'm a self-learned scholar. Like with Gloria say, I read a lot, I think a lot, I debate a lot, I have a lot of conversations. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. But I do understand spirituality, but I feel like it's not something a lot of people understand. And it's good to use other language for that.
I would definitely, like I said, I want to set up another talk. We could delve deeper into that, because I do want to delve into the words that we're choosing to relate that, because I think it's very helpful. The future you is a great concept for kids, to kind of help kids in that social emotional way, and to relate kind of where they're trying to get them to go, because regardless, we're in a public system, so it's based on performance tests and evaluations. And I think having this would help them in a way. as well to kind of, trying to think of the word, kind of like bridge a gap between, it's like, you know, what's happening here on this earthly plane and requirements socially versus what the future you that you want to be needs, and can take from this experience, even with the adage of, you know, being drilled and the extra homework and all these other things that they have to deal with. I want to thank everybody. This has been very enlightening. If there's anything you want me to add in the description, links, anything you need me to edit out, which will probably be in a week or so, please let me know. Again, I'm hoping that everything we talked about can be related. I'm definitely going to share this with those who really love this book. I feel bad a little bit. Sorry.
They'll get over it.
Yeah, we really shish kebab this sucker. I really did not. I didn't expect it to go like this. I'm glad it did though. It's very much so needed, and I really feel like this is another example of a children's book that people really don't take seriously, and the kind of messages that are being picked up and how that goes into a child's development and into their adulthood. And it explains a lot for a lot of adults that we all know, why they behave the way they do, why they move the way they do. And we gave a lot of positive feedback, criticism, and tools that someone who relates to this can start working through and working with. And I got a lot too to work with my child, because definitely I'm gonna say most kids, but even though kids have those lessons about sharing, I don't feel like we consider, like Tada was saying, how that child feels having to give up and make themselves, you know, smaller or sad to make someone else happy. Even though we're trying to teach them the lesson of sharing, we are neglecting other side of that, in a sense, sometimes. And it's not looked upon well in the classroom either. If you have a child who's constantly being stingy, not sharing, they'll say they're not social, or they don't play well with others.
Yep.
More needs to be, you know, dug up and looked at specifically with that child. But it's required that the thinking changes. Thank you again. I will leave it at that.